Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. That's going to be Megan Brantley, VP of Research at LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Megan.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, so we're talking Block, the old Square. Stocks rallied over 6% so far just this month, and I overlaid a chart of Bitcoin with Square over the last 6 months. The correlation is basically spot on. Is that why we're seeing this, resurgence in the stock here, Megan, according to your data?
I think that its Bitcoin exposure is certainly a tailwind for a lot of investors when they're looking at this name. And then we also know that the company put out some nice early holiday shopping numbers. It put out a report for Black Friday through Cyber Monday, and it processed about 144 million transactions, up about 17% year over year. So nice traction in that holiday shopping weekend. We know it got an upgrade last week from analysts on user growth in its Cash App and Square ecosystems. And so it's got a lot of positive headlines, certainly, that have been propelling this stock. I think it's up about 50% in the last 6 months. And what we're seeing, though, is a bit conflicting with all of these rosy headlines. Whenever we look at growth in Block's Square, which is its merchant ecosystem, and its Cash App, we see a bit of underperformance whenever you look at it versus other financial services peer, namely PayPal and Venmo, and even whenever you look at Shopify. And so I think that this is interesting because this is one that a couple of years ago, Block was the major up-and-comer, and it was chasing and even beating PayPal and capturing a large portion or a lot of market share. But now we're seeing it flipped the other way. We're seeing PayPal and Venmo really outperform, and Square and Cash App struggling to keep up with that pace of growth. And so a bit of conflicting data on our end whenever we look at this name. So just some room to be cautious.
Megan, this is an interesting story because Tom's right. You can't argue with the shape of the chart, kind of mirroring cryptocurrency since the election. But they did put up higher revenue, up 8.8%, gross profits up 14.4%, gross profit margins 36%. The metrics of the company are getting better, but they also have heavy, almost excessive stock-based compensation. I think you're right. I think that one of the key issues here is the resurgence of PayPal that we're going to probably talk about in the next segment. The management team at PayPal has kind of turned that company around. I think all of these companies the pie is probably getting bigger, but all the good news it's making feels like teardrops and tidal waves versus the whole crypto story, Megan.
Yeah, and I think that right now that's just the risk that traders need to be aware of and investors need to be aware of. Is just this stock does have a lot of exposure to Bitcoin, and so could be a bit more volatile versus other players in this space. But when we look at this just from a big picture of the company at large and its platform and its ecosystem, and is it attracting users? Is it growing its user base? Are they engaging more on its user base? We're seeing actually signs of a slowdown. And so that's a little bit concerning for us. We see signs of younger consumers specifically shifting more toward the PayPal and the Venmo, which is not a good long-term story for a name like Block. Whenever you look at this is the monthly active users for Cash App, and you can see that slipping by about 3% year over year. That's just a sign of a slowdown in growth for us. And so this is, for us, just a reason to be concerned. And when we're looking around this payment services sector, we see a lot of other more compelling plays if we were looking for a name to bet to the upside. This isn't one that I think that we would be willing to go out on a limb on right now, at least.
And your other chart that had global monthly active app users down 3% for Cash App, and kind of reflective of that there's still competition in this space, Megan. If you guys aren't that bullish on a name like Square, especially after the run it's had, are there other competitors out there that LikeFolio has better data on?
Yeah, I think that PayPal is one of the holiday shopping. There's the surprising holiday shopping winners that we're tracking. We see it doing a really good job of leveraging those in-store purchases, winning back a lot of users to its legacy PayPal platform, thanks to a lot of new partnerships it's rolling out with Shopify, with Apple Wallet, and things of that nature. And we're just seeing Cash App and Square struggling to keep up with that rate of growth. So I think that if we were looking at this, we certainly like Shopify. We expect it to have a really strong holiday shopping season. But PayPal, I think, would be a much more compelling bullish bet to the upside for us from here versus a name like Block.
Megan, when you look at this, and I know it's tied to cryptocurrency, is that the caveat or the potential catalyst where we could actually see the stock go up, even though maybe it's not warranted? But they hold a lot of Bitcoin. Besides, there's a comparison chart of Bitcoin versus Block over the last year, and you can see the high correlation there. Is that what could be the outlier for you guys? For this stock, that hey, Bitcoin goes to 150,000, like a lot of people are expecting, Block's probably going to be there too.
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's something to keep in mind. It does have a high Bitcoin holding, and then just from a user experience, that exposure is a little bit gives it some stickiness in its ecosystem. So something to be aware of, but at large, not necessarily a name that we see garnering a lot of enthusiasm from consumers on that level.
All right, great stuff, great data as always, Megan. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, that's Megan Brantley, VP of Research at LikeFolio, breaking it down for us. Yeah, I mean, that was the first thing when I started doing some background on this. I didn't realize they held